Today our learning target is to divide polynomials, and this is the second part of our lessons on dividing polynomials. So if you have not watched yesterday's video and you haven't practiced with yesterday's assignment, please do that before you continue with this one. I want to do a couple problems to start us off with to kind of refresh what we did yesterday, get your brain back in the mode, and also to emphasize a couple things that I didn't emphasize yesterday. So for this first problem, I've got a trinomial divided by a binomial, and you notice that the trinomial is not in standard form. So when I write this problem in this format, I want to make sure that I put the trinomial in standard form. So I'm going to do 8x squared minus 9x plus 2. This is the part that I don't think I emphasized well yesterday. So when I'm looking for this first, when I'm asking myself how many times does x go into 8x squared, I want this to be whatever is necessary so that when I subtract 8x squared, so that this is going to be 8x squared so that this subtracts to 0. So in order to get this to be 8x squared, I need this to be 8x. So 8x times x is 8x squared. 8x times minus 1 is minus 8x. And this whole thing is being subtracted. So I've got minus 9 minus negative 8x is minus 1x. And then I'm going to bring down the 2. And I'm going to ask myself how many times does x go into negative 1x. So that's going to be negative 1 times. So that's going to be negative 1x plus 1. So I end up with 2 minus 1 is 1. And my answer for this problem is 8x minus 1 plus 1 all over x minus 1. Let's do another one similar to that and similar to what you did yesterday, so that we're kind of refreshing before we move on to something more difficult. I actually had this all worked out, and then I lost my video, so I'm going to erase that because it makes more sense to do the video where you can actually see me doing the work. So on this next problem, I've already written it in standard form. I have my binomial out in front. I'm going to ask myself how many times does 2h go into 6h squared. Again, when I subtract, I want this to be 6h squared so that this goes away. So this is going to have to be 3h in order for 3h times 2h to equal 6h squared. 3h times 9 is plus 27h. So then that's 0. This is minus 12h. And then I'm going to bring down the 4. 2h goes into negative 12h negative 6 times. So that's going to be negative 12h minus 54. This will be positive 50. So my answer is 3h minus 6 plus 50 all over 2h plus 9. You might recognize that from that problem. That was the last problem on the practice assignment that you did last night. Next, we're going to learn one more thing related to dividing polynomials, and then we'll be done with this and ready for some practice. The next wrinkle is when I have binomial, but I have an x squared, and over here I have an x, but I don't have an x here. So in order to kind of maintain what I'm going to call like the place value, we have to insert a term in the middle so that we can divide. So when I'm writing the problem down, I'm going to do x minus 2 goes into 3x squared, and I'm going to insert this missing term, and I'm going to put a 0 there because I don't want to change the value of the trinomial now, but I want it to equal 0, and then minus 8. So I've inserted this piece right here so that when I divide, I have something, I have that kind of holding its place. So x goes into 3x squared. 3x times x is 3x squared. 3x times minus 2 is minus 6x. I'm going to subtract, so this becomes positive 6x minus 8. And I'm going to ask myself how many times does x go into 6x, and it's 6 times, so 6x minus 12. And I'm sure you've noticed it's super easy to mix up on your negatives here, so be really careful when you're subtracting the negatives. So on this one, my final answer would be 3x plus 6 plus 4, which is right here, divided by x minus 2. Now I'm going to give you a couple of practice problems to do where you have to insert a missing term. They're super big because I have work off to the right-hand side that I didn't want to erase and redo. So go ahead and pause the video, work these problems, and then come back and check your work. All right, you'll notice on the first one that I inserted a missing term right here so that I had something to subtract from. This one I ended up with no remainder, so my answer is just 3y minus 2. On this one I inserted a missing term right here. I ended up with a remainder of 87, so this is my answer to that problem. So that's it for today. Your practice is on Clever so that I can see how accurate you are, so that I will know whether we are ready to move on from this or if we still need more practice on it. Certainly also open to your emailing me and letting me know how it's going. This is actually one of the hardest parts of online teaching to me, is that especially when something like this is a skill that's difficult, I don't know if you're saying, I got this, or I have no idea what she's doing. And you might have a simple little question and then it becomes complicated to ask it. So thanks for sticking with me and working through this time together. But let me know how you're doing with this and I'll look at the Clever results as well.